Hi, today's video is all about the Sigma 28-70 f2.8 full frame lens on Sony E-mount. It's a very old lens, I've had it for a long time, but I thought I'd make this video because I've kind of fallen back in love with it again. The reason for that, I found it small, light, portable, and it's really good for video. It's got some positives and negatives. I've seen some reviews online, seen what people think and so on. So I thought I'd make my own version of someone who's used it for the last 2 or 3 years. It's a great little lens, and I'll explain my reasons for liking it. Not necessarily right for everybody, but I'll tell you why I like it. But I'm going to start with the negatives. It's a 28-70, it's not a 24-70, so you're missing quite a lot on the wide end. It depends what you use it for. If you're using it for walking around, travel, especially in cities and so on, 24-28 probably won't be that bad, especially if you're doing street photography or street videography, that kind of thing. Most people use it around 35 anyway, and 24 is nice, but 28 does crop it in, probably imagine like that much more cropped in from a 24. So if you look at it like there, I'll try and get my hands right. If you look at about here, where my fingers are, that'd probably be better. About that much cropping from say a 24. So you're going to miss that little bit extra on the wide end. And at 28, I'm not going to lie, it's on 28 now. There's a bit of a vignette around the edges. It's probably taken out a little bit on the video. Sorry, I'm looking at the screen to get an idea, but around this area here, you do get a slight vignette, especially on photography, and a little bit of barrel distortion, so it like bends maybe a little bit this way as well. But most of that would be taken out with in-camera corrections, and if you're using any editing tools, you can remove that as well. It's not the end of the world, but it's good to know about. On the opposite end, on the 70mm, apparently it's not quite as sharp. It's still pretty sharp, but it's not quite as sharp, and you get some pincushion distortion, so it bends in a little bit this way as well, but that can be removed as well post editing. But probably the worst thing is you do get some chromatic aberrations. In other words, you get locus, so you'll get a little bit of purple or green fringing. It's not too bad. I've seen it a lot worse, but I've also seen better as well. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. Another thing to note with this as well, a lot of 24-70s and 28-70s or 28-75s, you'll see that they've got switches and buttons on them. This has only got one switch, and it's a autofocus to manual focus. To be honest, that's all I use anyway, so I'm quite happy with that. And to keep the size down, for me, it's worth it. And a little bit of the price as well, to be honest. Positive things about this lens, and for me, this is the number one, is it's so small and compact. It makes me want to bring it out. There's a lot of lenses out there where they're great lenses, but they're quite big. And because they're quite big, you like using them, but sometimes you think, oh, can I really be bothered to take this out with me? You kind of lose that edge of like wanting to take it out. I love anamorphic lenses, but they can be so big and bulky. I think, do I want to carry it with me today? Do I want to take it out on this trip? Do I want to bring it wherever? Where this lens is so light, you can just put it on the front of your camera and you've got a 28-70, you've got all the points in between. It's an f2.8 aperture, which means it's pretty good in low light anyway, especially in a full frame. It's a great little carry around lens for most situations, to be honest. Not all, but most. It can be very sharp, this lens. I know it's got a bit of reputation being soft sometimes around the edges and so on. If you stop it down to say f4, maybe even f5.6, you're going to get an extremely sharp lens, which is great for landscape kind of photography or big wide angle shots. But if you do stop it down, yeah, occasionally it can be a little bit softer than perfect, but it's still sharp enough that most of us won't notice the difference anyway, so it's not really a big deal there. And I'm going to include some pictures as well as video on this, just to give you an idea, because I've been using this lens for so long. I use it a lot for street photography, I've used it a lot for travel. I find it just a fun lens to use, and it's one I wanted to make this video about, but it's not the only lens out there in this category. You have got some options. You can go with Sigma's 24-70. They've got a 24-70 f2.8. It's much bigger, it's much bulkier, and it's much more expensive, but it's a very sharp and good all-round lens. You've also got, of course, the Sony 24-70 G Master 2, which is very expensive, ultra amazing apparently in every way. Not something I've really used myself, but yeah, it's the G Masters, and the G Masters have got a good reputation for a reason. You've also got Sony's own 24-50 G lens. Again, another good all-round lens, but not quite as much reach, more wide. Plus, as it's a Sony one, you're going to get better autofocus. You're going to get better usability with the Sony body, probably a bit better IBIS as well. You have the Tamron 28-75, which is very close to this one. It's a little bit bigger, but I've heard the picture quality might be a little bit better. But for me, the smaller size of this one makes a lot more sense to use this. It hasn't really got any dust or anything like that in it, which is a good thing. I know the Sigma 24-70, the original version, it was quite famous for getting dust in the lens. Again, I've been using this for 2 or 3 years, no dust in the lens at all. It feels good actually, even though it's plasticky, it does feel good. It feels like you get your money's worth with it. I like the feel of the focus, I like the feel of the zoom. There's no problems there at all. Though when you do zoom out, it's the opposite way to Sony ones, which can be a bit confusing when you go from, say, a Tamron and Sony to this. So for me though, this is a really nice video lens. It's really nice for walking around, taking candid video, or just travel video, anything like that, where you want something that's good quality, but it's not too heavy. It fits nicely on a mirrorless camera. So you've got that nice weight, that nice walking around video, just an all-round nice lens. It's good in here. I'm using it now at 28mm, so it's good for talking heads. Okay, you haven't quite got the separation as in the F1.4 or 1.8, but not a huge difference, and for me it looks really nice, and it's more about lighting anyway, to be honest. That's my quick review of the 28-70. A fun lens, good to use, excellent for travel, and well worth it in my opinion, especially if you can get it on a good deal, or maybe even secondhand if it's in really good condition. Okay, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. I hope to see you again in my next one. Thank you, bye bye.